Going for boost. Well, I think going for boost, if you're a boost merchant, like someone like AJ or someone, you go for boost.
100% of the time.
Yes.
Always, every second of every game. Ball's going in your net, don't worry about it. Go get the boost and make sure you've got the full 100 to celebrate with the other team.
Oh God. Never. Yeah, never. Always go for ball. Yeah. Number one rule of Rocket League.
Welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, where three aggressively average Rocket League players talk about everything RLCS with your hosts, Ace, Code Red Jack, Kyle Cube, and AJ Binky. So, if you've ever wondered when the best time to go for Boost Over Ball is, you've come to the right place.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle K. Cube, and today I'm joined with Flash Pandy, the Rumble God himself, and AJ Binky. How's it going, guys?
Hey, man, happy to be here.
So, we got a little bit of an interesting episode. We're not going to be talking about any of the RLCS matches, in detail anyway. But we kind of thought it would be a nice, quiet, not super eventful, outside of the matches happening weekend. But RLCS and Rocket League said, "Hold my beer. Here are some things to talk about." So we'll be talking about the ban hammer that fell on Young Money Clan in Sub-Saharan Africa. The fallout from that, what it means for RLCS, our thoughts. Before we'll talk about the grass boost that was made famous by the OG Luminosity Gaming series in the quarterfinals. We'll talk about some travel restrictions for RLCS and finish off with overtime. You guys have any opening thoughts on any of that stuff?
No Money Clan, baby.
Thoughts. But I'll hold them.
Okay.
The tongue shall be held until the right time.
For now, yeah.
So
eventually,
we'll jump right into the Young Money Clan banning. And for people who aren't aware, I'll kind of go through some of the overview and then the ruling, and then we'll kind of get to our thoughts and their and our opinions, which are pretty strong about this after that. But for people who aren't aware, Young Money Clan is a European Rocket League team that is playing in Sub-Saharan Africa for Major 1. Heading into Regional 3 after 2 second-place finishes, they needed to win the Regional, and they needed Limitless to finish 5th through 8th to make the Major. After a convincing 3-1 and 3-0 series wins in rounds 1 and 2, and a convincing game in Game 1 of Round 3 where they won 6-2, Young Money Clan then goes on to lose their next 6 straight matches, only scoring 6 goals total in that time, before miraculously bouncing back in round 5 to sweep White Rabbit Gaming, scoring 14 goals in 3 games, securing them 7th place coming out of the Swiss bracket, which more importantly gave them a quarterfinals matchup with Limitless. This matchup in the quarterfinals would have allowed Young Money Clan to have an attempt to knock out Limitless in 5th to 8th place, giving them essentially a free ride to the Major if they're able to win the event, which would have been required and the only way possible for them to make the Major. However, I would like to note that in the 2 previous times that Young Money Clan played Limitless, in 2 best-of-7 series, they were only able to take 1 game and were pretty convincingly beaten both times.
Also, I want to point out that it's only a free ride for them if they don't want a boot camp.
Right.
I don't know, man. All I'm saying is, like, the criteria for them to make regional being that Limitless has to finish 5th through 8th in a region they have never lost a grand final in except for one time, and it was last season.
And
it's
both
not
of them
going to happen
against Young Money Clan. Like, both of the previous ones were against Young Money Clan. And
losing one game previously in 2 best-of-7s, also a team that literally hasn't lost in a grand final for any split or qualifier ever, except for once in Game 7. No. Even if there was no even if there were no shenanigans involved, I don't think that happens regardless.
No, they'd be out
I
first
mean,
round.
yeah, you can try and use your big brain tactics to go lower bracket, I guess, but like 5th round to lower your seeding. But I don't know, man. We talked about it before, and KQ, I think you were the one to say it. First of all, you're in another region. You're in the wrong region, smurfing. And you're cheating. Young Money Clan, more like No Money Clan. You
Not
make
even
no
well.
money.
Like, don't make it so obvious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna cheat, like, lose the first 2.
Or like,
I don't know,
change
man.
one of your bindings or something.
You don't like pop off
make
the
it
first
so
2 series and be
obvious.
like, oh, we're doing too good, we have to stop now, and then be like, oh wait, well we still have to win the last game. Let's just stop them. Yeah, great
Did
plan,
you watch,
guys.
Did you watch Johnny Boy's video?
I didn't, but I need to. Apparently.
Oh yeah.
So we will link that video and a couple other clips that we've found of like from Twitch VODs of some of the Young Money Clan games where they lost, and you guys can make a decision for yourself. I think it's pretty obvious, especially when you, and like this has happened to everybody before, right? Like if you're trying to play against people that you are better than, like you're a better team than them, and they just are as of right now, right? They've come 2 second places in regionals 1 and 2. So you go from, dunking on teams that are worse than you to trying to lose to teams that are worse than you, which makes it incredibly obvious, in my opinion, that something was awry.
Yeah, and like when you have bad days, it's not like that.
It's the whole day.
Dude, it's not like, oh, we had a
not-
bad day.
Yeah.
Usually when someone tweets out and says, hey, I had a bad day, you get swept or you just like
Yeah.
don't win.
You don't
like
have
your games
a bad game 2, 3, and 4.
right, like the games you win are like game 5/game 7, like very close wins and then bad losses. It's not like, hey, murder them series 1, murder them series 2. Oh, we lost. Oh, murder in the last series. It's not like, no, that's not how it works. Like, come on, man.
So with that, we have a ruling from Psyonix, from the governing body of RLCS, that Riho, Little Motion, and Nuggets actions on March 1st, 2024 violate the player's code of conduct found in Section 7 of the official rules. That being, each player is expected to play within the spirit of Rocket League and these results at all times during any game or match. Any form of unfair play is prohibited by these rules and may result in disciplinary action. Examples of unfair play include the following: collusion, match fixing or throwing, bribing a referee or match official, and any other unfair or illegal action or agreement to intentionally influence or attempt to influence the outcome of a match or event. And then with that, they also violate Rule 3.8.11 for team associations. Except as otherwise expressly set forth herein, all of the tournament administrator's rights pursuant to these rules relate to and are exercisable against the team as a whole and each individual member of the team. If any right of disqualification arises as to any individual member of the team, then the event administrator may exercise the right of disqualification against the team as a whole.
I feel like I need a translator for that second one.
Yeah, that one was a little too lawyer for a minute.
Very verbose, but basically saying if one player is found guilty of this, then the tournament and event administrator has the right to disqualify an entire team as a whole.
That makes sense.
So with
yeah,
the punishment and a statement: after a thorough investigation of game delays, match footage, and analysis, among other connecting points of evidence, we have determined that SSA RLCS player Riho, Little Motion, and Nugget of Team Young Money Clan deliberately compromised competitive integrity in order to lose Round 3 and Round 4 of their Team Swiss Stage Series against teams NXT Aquatavice and Bonjour. This is a direct violation of Rocket League Championship Series Player Code of Conduct and official rules. These actions will result in a forfeiture of prize money for Open Qualifier 3, all of their RLCS points from Major 1, and an immediate ban from all Rocket League competitions until March 1st, 2025.
Good on you, RLCS. Good move.
Yeah,
That was quick.
Yeah, it really was.
That's something I can appreciate. It's being that, and I know the last several episodes that I personally have been on have been crying about how RLCS has basically been the MLB of esports, taking 100 years to make a decision. But it seems like there is some found passion with this sort of thing, and I think that's been something that RLCS has always been very good with, is making these competitive rulings on certain things in past years for sure. But I mean, this was in a matter of hours.
Yeah, it was extremely quick. But
I was also kind of surprised like they did anything, because like they talked about it on that video, the Johnny Boys video. Like you you can't really prove their intentions, you know. Like it's very obvious what was going on, but you can't prove for certain that's what was going on. So like I was actually kind of surprised that something happened from it, and they that's what Johnny Boy's video was like a VOD of when it was like actually happening. Like he saw part of it live, and then they were talking about it, him and Rise, and they both kind of agreed like something needs to happen, but we both don't think anything's gonna happen, and that's exactly how I felt. But to their credit, they acted quick, and I am very glad they did.
I'm happy, quite honestly, that the punishment was so severe. I think they needed to crack down, right? Because if it's like, oh, it's just like, oh, you just forfeited your your points from this regional. Oh, okay. Well, then people may try and do it more slyly next time. But
this is, I would say, is certainly a way of showing everybody that, hey, we are not playing around with this. And I think it was done effectively. But I mean, it's only time will tell. But I mean, that's certainly the best way to kind of assert dominance in a way, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, it sets a precedence too, right? So like we've seen a couple of RLCS bannings for playing underage before the age was changed, right? It was a year. That it just
I wasn't gonna say it.
If you competed underage, then you got a year ban. That's what happened.
Maybe that's the new meta though. Just get banned for a year and then come back and win worlds.
That's what I'm saying. Don't lose.
Yeah.
Eris.
Zen.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like you guys share the thought that I'm very happy that they did something. I was kind of expecting not a whole lot to happen. But I mean, the fallout from this is pretty substantial. So 250 teams in RLCS history have advanced to an international event by winning a series. 250 different teams. Limitless now becomes the first team to qualify for a major and international event due to a disqualification. Which, for good or for bad, that puts them in the history books forever.
I would say that's probably a good thing. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be a player for Limitless and kind of have that tag. Like, I mean, dude, they worked hard. I mean, yeah, they're in a region where, respectfully, it is the easiest region to make a major in, but like they have dominated the region. Like it's not even a question. But to go from like, uncontested SSA champion to, hey, they made a major because of a disqualification, that's not really a fair evaluation. I feel like they were making it anyways.
I think so too.
They were going to.
Like they were 100% gonna make it anyways. Like we talked about it before. I mean, they needed to go 5th through 8th, which required them losing their first round, especially for a team that literally has dropped. I can count the amount of games they've dropped in the last calendar year on 2 hands.
Although the Young Money Clan was playing on about a third of the ping as they did the previous 2 tournaments. So there is that to consider. So like they could have done better than they previously did.
Yeah, sure. It could have been a better result. You're right, but I mean, like I've seen
either way. I still don't think they win.
I agree.
No,
and I've seen, and also Shmongolia is now the number 2 seed in SSA. But even though only one team goes to the major, that still is important for Worlds qualification. So just thought I'd throw that in there before we get back into
Let's go Shmongolia
talking about this. But I mean, like it's just like you're not in your home region. right? Because of the new rule change for RLCS and, where you can compete. You've consistently been dismantled by Limitless. What makes you think this time's going to be any different other than the ping, right? Like 100 ping is not going to be the difference between you getting swept and you winning a series. It's just not. Like, in my opinion, that's what that is. But like I've seen some really bad tweets, and we are pretty active on Twitter talking to people about this. But somebody said that making the major is better than not making the major, and so doing anything in your power to try and have an opportunity to make a major is like tempting, right? Even if it's cheating. Well, we have a precedent for this. Rule 1 did it last year, right? They had an opportunity if they lost a series to be able to play Falcons to have a shot at the major. They did not take it. They won the series handily. They swept them in a series that it would have benefited them to lose because they have competitive integrity, and these 3 show that they did not.
Yeah, and
Yep.
There's really not entirely a lot more to say on it. It's just kind of beating a dead horse at a point. But like realistically looking at it, like yes, Limitless probably weren't going to lose. It would have been cool to see like, hey, they get upset there. But I mean, honestly, even if they did get upset, I honestly would have preferred them not to, because it's against a team that are playing in like out of region. And honestly, I still don't. That still doesn't entirely sit well with me. So I don't know, but yeah.
I'm with you.
I mean, at least if you're a region transplant living in the region you're competing in, even if it's during competitions, you're at least scrimming and like contributing to the ecosystem. But I'm sure
Right.
like if you're playing from home for all these regionals, you're scrimming EU teams. You're not scrimming SSA teams. It's not going to help you.
Exactly.
So it's like, you're taking all of the positive parts about region transplants and, making it a moot point. But, last but certainly not least, and the last point that I'll bring on this one is from that Johnny Boy VOD, talking to Rise. Young Money Clan, well, 2 things. Young Money Clan reached out to somebody to coach them specifically for Saturday and Sunday, not for Friday.
Yeah.
So that seems a little bit sus. And the second thing being, if they truly did have a bad day, if it was recorded, say something. Like especially if they recorded, comms or anything like that, it would be very easy to refute the fact that they had a bad day or things weren't going right. Right? Like if you heard comms and you're like, "Oh, shit, I backflipped." Or, I bumped one or something like that. Like the comms would very clearly show your intentions. Right? And the fact that they haven't said anything publicly other than GG's got banned for having a bad day and haven't really addressed it is, in my opinion, proof enough that they are guilty of fixing
Don't forget
matches.
about their tweet when they made top 8. Like, yo, we made top 8. GG's everybody that was close.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And they haven't done that. They haven't done that all season.
Yeah.
So, any last thoughts on this one? I think we're all kind of in agreement that we're not really big fans of what happened, and we think the punishment was deserved, but a little bit unexpected.
Yeah, I'd say go back to your own country, but now you can't for a year.
See you in 2025.
Nerds,
Oh, yeah.
Low Money Clan.
get out of here.
Indeed. But now let's get on to a more interesting debate, and that is the grass boost debate. So again,
This is so exciting.
It's so fun.
So
I
for
know.
people who don't know what happened, it was noticed by the casters in the quarterfinal match of the NA Regional 3 that Luminosity and OG, all 6 players were using the grass boost that comes with the game, right? It's one of the default boosts that you get. And it was after that series that it was noted in an interview with Nolly that JNAPS noticed in VOD, like the night before of Luminosity, that they were using that boost, and that from a certain distance, it looked almost invisible, because Nolly kind of expound on that and said that like when you're driving normally, your car kicks up grass clippings, like just without boosting, driving normally, and so when you're boosting, it's very hard to see, especially in the air. It's almost impossible to see. So I guess the biggest question of this is a boost a competitive advantage?
I feel like at a certain point it could be. In this case, I think it is. Because like there's a difference, right? Like you could use the flowers boost, the one that just goes meow the whole time and just annoy your opponent the whole time. But I feel
Or the
like
Joker laughing.
yeah, or the Christmas one that just goes over and over and over. It's
Yeah.
awful, the worst thing ever.
Yep.
You could do that, and I wouldn't consider. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's not really a competitive advantage. It just kind of annoys the opponents, which I guess in a way can give an
You could
advantage, but
argue that gives an
competitively,
advantage.
no. But in this case, when it's something that genuinely changes kind of, I guess, what people see on the field and it actually creates a problem, I think, yes, that is 100% considered a competitive advantage. Do I think it should be removed or action should be taken against it? Absolutely not.
So
That's me.
my understanding was it becomes impossible to see. Like you literally can't see it from a certain distance away from. So like from what I can tell, it's objectively an advantage, competitive advantage. I mean, who was it? Lethamere said he's going to do a video on other boosts that have that also. First of all, I want to know who figured this out because that's just absolutely fascinating to me. Second,
So we've seen Luminosity. They were running it in the Swiss stage of this event, and I've seen a couple of the Luminosity players rocking it for more than just the playoff matches. So
really?
I'm interested in who found it out. Maybe like
And
someone
how
on
long
Lumin.
ago?
Exactly. I don't know.
Interesting.
Interview segment.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And then where was it going? Certain distance. And I think like I know they've like Psionics or somebody higher up or whatever like talked about how they weren't gonna add like more than 4v4 because consoles couldn't handle the number of polygons on screen or whatever at the same time. So like I feel like there's a chance that that's why they uh like limited the boost in this way if my understanding of it is correct. Um so like it actually just gives a competitive advantage and that's ridiculous.
But I mean, like, it is an advantage. But at what point can you consider it not like a competitive advantage if everybody can do the same thing? And it's not like a pay to win either because everybody who has Rocket League has this boost.
But like I also see them not allowing it specifically for RLCS just for the spectators cuz like you could tell that was the case in game. Like
All you
it
heard
was
was
difficult to
lawnmowers.
see them boosting. Well, yeah, you could hear it from a mile away. But like when they were up in the air and stuff, you like, and the camera was far away. I personally couldn't tell they were boosting at all. It was ridiculously difficult. Yeah, Bacchus mod could be used to change like the anonymizer. Like someone's gonna get that working soon. I can almost guarantee it. You can change your own boost to alpha boost, and then like the spectator will always have the grass boost. So like the players are going to be able to use whatever boost they want and still have the competitive advantage of using the grass boost. Like they won't be affected at all. It's just going to be the spectators that are affected.
Yeah, that was
And
actually going to be my
that
next
is
question.
an issue.
Yeah, true.
Because I was going to say, does it take away from the viewing experience, especially of newer, like people that are newer to RLCS and to Rocket League?
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to change my wording on that. I don't think it's an issue. I think it's not.
It's
I
something
don't
that can
even
be
know how to
improved.
I don't even know how to word it.
The
Yeah,
viewing
yeah,
experience could be
it-
improved.
the only thing affected is spectator. Like, and I feel like they're going to do something because of that.
I think that's a good way to put it. I would also like to note that Creams is currently using the grass boost in their
Nice.
semifinal against G2. So it is like the word is getting around. Like players are using it.
Yeah, do you think so? As far as I could tell, the only game that they that it was used in was what was it? OG Luminosity? Is that right?
That was the only series so far where every player has been using it.
There have been others that have used it though.
Yes, so Creams is using it now. Luminosity
Specifically
used it.
yesterday, I mean.
Yes, Luminosity used it throughout Swiss. I believe there was one other player that used it in their quarterfinal match too. I think one of the Omelet players was using it.
Okay, gotcha. So, like, it makes me think that
But-
somehow the players just don't know about it. But also, like, they were, I maybe it was in the video, like, someone's calling for a gentleman's agreement to not use it, which could also be the case. Like, I'm just thinking out loud here as to why not everybody was using it.
I would have to say that I don't think everybody knew about it, right? But the Omelet
See,
G2
that's what I'm
series,
thinking
the Omelet
too.
G2 series was after that. But like, I mean, I know Call of Duty esports has a gentleman's agreement on a lot of things
Uh-huh.
that they've agreed on, and that's like kind of like the law for everybody else competing in Call of Duty esports is what the
It does
gentleman's
get broken
agreement says.
occasionally, though.
Occasionally it does. You're right, but that's a really bad look for you and your team if you're breaking
Yes,
it.
it is.
So I mean, it's interesting, but I think that either a gentleman's agreement or the RLCS match admins using or whoever's streaming it using Bacchus mod to change it all to Alpha Boost or whatever, I think would really solve a lot of issues.
Sure, I don't agree with that either, though, because then everybody's just using Alpha Boost. Like that, sure, it's a lot better than the Grass Boost, but I still don't think that's the right answer. Maybe it is for now, but I don't think that's the right answer for it.
I mean, I don't think it would be
Long-term.
entirely bad to predict that basically kind of an announcement would be made saying, hey, the grass boost is banned from competitive play in Rocket League. I mean, or at least from RLCS is what I mean. Like,
Right.
I don't think that's entirely out of this world as a prediction. Even if there wasn't if there wasn't a gentleman's agreement made, I honestly wouldn't put it past Rocket League to do that, to make that call, especially if there is a genuine difference that is made. Like, I'm sure it'd probably be a while before any sort of decision is made officially, if any. But
Yeah, and I feel like that would be a good, like, even just temporary fix.
yeah,
Oh, jeez.
But do you think that a temporary fix would like, depending on how quickly this takes off, right? Like how quickly other people like catch on? Are we going to see this in EU Swiss and EU playoffs next weekend? Are more people are going to adopt this as they kind of realize how like overpowered it is? Like, is this something that you see changed before the major, or is this something you see changed for major 2, if at all?
That's a really good question.
I don't know if there's even a possible answer to that, because I mean, I definitely think, I mean, word spreads fast with this sort of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
that
just
has
see how quickly like
happened.
new mechanics like get into rotation,
Right.
right? Like zap dashing and wall dashing and stuff.
Especially nowadays. Now it's like, especially now, it's easy as equipping a boost and not learning a whole new mechanic. It's something that can be changed in 30 seconds once you learn about it. So I certainly think that we will see it in the coming days, especially with EU being next week and all that, and EU quals actually happening as we speak. So I definitely do agree. Yes, we're going to see it more. Is a decision going to be made on it at some point? In my opinion, yes, I think it will happen. Should it? For viewing experience, yeah. But as far as the players go, I mean, it's in the game for a reason. Obviously not for that reason, but I mean, you can make that same argument about several other items. So
True.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of EU teams, a decent amount of EU teams using it, and I think nothing will be done about it until right before the major.
I mean, I would tend to say like there's no way that they can implement something like this before the major, but then we saw how quickly they acted with Young Money Clan's ban,
That's a
and
good point.
it gives me a little bit of hope that something may happen, pretty quickly. But like,
Yeah.
Regional 3 happened for NA already, and there's nothing they can do about it now. It's happened. It's over. Like, today it'll be done. We're, a little bit of a peek behind the curtain. We're recording this on Sunday before all the matches end on the 3rd. But like I feel like it would be a little bit of an unfair advantage if they banned it before EU Regional 3, considering all of the other regions had an opportunity to use it if they so chose.
I agree.
So I think
that is true.
If we hear something, it would probably be after next weekend. So like maybe a week or two, or before the major. I think we certainly have a little bit of a break, with next weekend being so like March 10th is the last day of regional play before the major, right? So it gives you everybody 2 weeks, basically, like 2 full weeks to get ready. Like I'm sure teams will be traveling and boot camping and stuff, but we'll talk about more about the travel stuff here in a second. But so I think if there's an announcement before Major 1, it happens mid-March. If there isn't, I think they may wait in between, after Major 1 before Major number 2 starts.
Yeah, that's my thought process on why I think it's going to be right before the major. Like I feel like if they did it for EU and not NA, I feel like it would give them a slight advantage.
Let's be honest. Does EU
If
even need an
anything.
advantage?
No.
Do they even
maybe
need it?
now. I mean,
I'm a little
like-
bit surprised that Farah didn't know about it.
when was this?
Like just in general.
That's a
The
good point,
GOAT.
actually. Yeah,
He's
The
Farah.
goat.
Mr. Whiteboard himself.
Yes.
Big brain Farah. Big brain Airbus.
Yeah.
But I mean that
Also,
like
G2 looks really good right now.
they do. But that's the kind of the grass boost debate. I'm sure that there will be more to talk about as we continue on. Maybe we'll see a ban coming soon. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll see a gentleman's agreement or something, especially as we look towards the first major with Blast running them. I think that they would be wanting to do everything in their power to make it as good of a viewing experience as possible, especially with some more information coming out about travel, which we'll talk about right now. So Torsas tweeted a conversation that they had between like Team Power and Blast Esports, and for people who are unaware, previously Psyonix and Epic Games have covered the travel costs of teams going to international events, and that hasn't exactly changed under the new system, but now it's only covered if you are traveling during the quote-unquote travel window, which is 1 day before media day, which is generally 2 days before the whole event starts. So having a travel window would prevent teams from boot camping in the region that they're playing in. And their if they did boot camp, then their travel wouldn't be paid for, so it could potentially lead to less boot camps, which could lead to a decrease in quality of play during the event. It would also give the teams, players, and staff 24 hours to 48 hours to adjust to a time change and get acclimated to your new area prior to competing. Like there's a 10-hour time difference between Copenhagen and Sydney. That's
ridiculous.
like half a day. That's a big adjustment, especially in 2 days, like 1 to 2 days. That's crazy.
I think that whole thing's stupid, honestly. Like a travel window. Like, yes, I understand that you probably don't want teams coming out like a week early. That's a little ridiculous because, yeah, you got to cover hotels and all that crap for those extra days.
As far as I know, they don't pay for accommodations. It's just flights.
Really? Okay.
Really?
So that's even worse, in my opinion.
They're like, and that's like the big argument, right? So it's like they're still traveling. It's just a different time. So like realistically, the only thing that I can think of that does that is because they announced the major so late, because the teams that are qualifying for it's like we have 3 weeks, right, until the major starts, and pretty much like a little bit over 3 weeks, but like a flight in 3 weeks is a heck of a lot cheaper than a flight in 2 weeks, especially an international one.
True. But one day of a window, that's
It just seems unfair.
especially considering like the time zone difference. I mean, that's insane. I mean, traveling from Germany to Denmark is one thing, but traveling from Sydney to Denmark is,
or like Brazil, or
even
South
then.
America. I mean, that's a big one. But like going into like the tweet from Torsas a little bit more, it's from in previous seasons, a team and/or an organization could negotiate travel expenses to facilitate a boot camp. This often involved paying the difference for booking earlier or more expensive flights, like if they wanted to like upgrade their players to first class, or if they wanted to get a different flight other than the one that was booked. The orgs would pay the difference depending on changes in destinations to accommodate a boot camp held in different city, state, or country to the location of the major. As it currently stands, depending on your region, players will arrive the day before a media shoot, followed by competition days, providing a single day to recover, adjust, and set up to compete for RLCS. While boot camps function as a way for players to overcome jet lag, adjust their sleep schedules, and prepare for competition, there are concerns around the sustainability for minor regions and low-budget teams that are being overlooked. One concern is that players traveling upwards of 24 hours, moving straight into media day, and then competing is challenging at a competitive level, but concerning for players' health and well-being. Our hope is that over a shared passion for RLCS and a concern for its sustainability, competitive integrity, player health, and well-being, we can land on something that would work for us all. So, in my opinion, it's pretty interesting that they are not like hard pressing for full coverage of travel expenses. They're offering to pay the difference. They just want the option to pay the difference for boot camps.
Realistically, a day is not enough to get over a 10+ hour difference of jet lag. Like, I would not want to be in that situation. Even the org situation, like, yeah, they have the option to cover the difference, but in some circumstances they're forced to.
Yeah.
And for orgs that are low budget, it puts it on the players. It depends, obviously. If this is like a G1 situation, it's different. But that is, I mean, in some circumstances, you could have players being forced to pay for this sort of thing, and especially being from a minor region, it's way more expensive at that point. So, I don't know, man. It's a touchy subject that I probably don't have the best evaluation on because I haven't done a ton of research on it. But by the looks of it, it seems pretty dark, in my opinion.
I mean, like, the big thing for me is, like, so Torsas tweets that, right? And, like, he apologizes, basically, for, we did not want to make this public, but we feel like our hands, along with many other minor regions on low-budget teams, are completely tied. So he apologizes for sharing it, and the official Rocket League esports account replied to him, "Thanks, Torsas, we take player health very seriously, which is why we have an additional travel and recovery day for any player traveling to Copenhagen from APAC or OCE. We're going to clarify our policies on additional travel requests directly with all RLCS players shortly. Look out for more soon." So they thought that this was such a big deal that they had to tweet about it. Like, this was a behind closed doors conversation, and they had to tweet about it. And it was important enough and a big enough deal for RLCS to tweet back at Torsas.
I mean, I definitely can respect the fact that they are acknowledging it instead of just kind of leaving it to dry. So it's definitely not an easy situation for Rocket League to be put in. And I definitely think they will come up with some sort of better response. Not a better response, but a better way of tackling it, even if it's giving a professional response, even if nothing is changed. But I don't know. It's financially not a fun situation for anyone to be in. But I don't think it's something that should fall on the orgs, in my opinion.
I mean, I would tend to agree. I think Rocket League is very unusual in the fact that most competitive esports leagues do not pay for their players' travel expenses for going to the events.
Yeah.
So I think if there's a better profit sharing, or a better way for orgs to make more money, then you can eliminate this issue altogether by not paying for their travel. But that's a conversation for a different day and a much larger topic than what we'll talk about here today. But the last kind of travel issue we'll talk about today is visa issues. LCT from APAC tweeted and said that he had not been reached out to about applying for a travel visa. He's like, we're not guaranteed to make an international event. I understand that. He goes, but in the past, Face It, which is the previous organization that helped to deal with all the travel expenses and the tournament organizing and stuff for Psyonix and Epic, would reach out to all players and all teams that had a possibility for qualifying for an international major about 2 to 3 months prior to the event, to like start the process for applying for visas, like for the players to visit these countries and to be able to compete. The visa process takes about 1 to 2 months to process. And we're now less than a month away from the major, and a lot of these players have not been reached out to about acquiring or applying for visas. So like that's a big issue in my opinion, and it could potentially lead to some players not being able to compete.
That's actually terrible. At what point do enough players, because it's not like you can just say, hey, this team can't make it. Now, hey, we're reaching out to a new team. But if the first team can't make it because of a deadline, second team's certainly not going to make it with
less of a deadline
notice. Yeah, with less notice. So at what point do you have some minor regions playing from online? And then you talk about having some sort of unfair advantage to playing at home. So, or disadvantage to playing at home. So that's certainly something that needs to be figured out now. Luckily, I've never had to deal with travel visas or anything, so I don't really know much about that, but it sounds as if though whoever, and I'm assuming it has some sort of, I don't know if Blast has anything to do with that, sounds like inexperience, but realistically, whoever is controlling that, they need to get their stuff together.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it's possible that, like, they are a large organization, Blast is, and they compete in many esports. So it's possible maybe they have a way to fast track these visas, and because they're going to wait until they know who's going to go for sure, maybe they have a way to do this. So maybe this is a non-issue. But, for people on the outside looking in who haven't heard anything about it, including the players, this seems like a big issue. So, like, yes. I don't know what it's like in Denmark. I don't, like, if you're in the EU, certainly going inside of the EU is very easy for you, right? Like, you have your passport. It's just very easy for you to travel around. However, like, in the United States, for instance, if you are from the Middle East, it is harder to come to the United States. It just is. For right or for wrong, for racist reasons or for not racist reasons, that's just kind of a fact as of right now. So if there is something similar to that in Denmark, you could potentially see a whole region missing out on being able to compete in person. And I would hate to see that.
I would say regions in a way. I mean, certainly the United States to EU is, I'd say, less of an issue than something like an APAC team trying to make it in. And that's a subject for not this podcast, but yeah, I'm glad I'm not in that seat being forced to make those decisions and whatnot. But I would definitely tend to agree if since Blast is such a large organization, they probably have some sort of way to and some sort of workaround for that if it was something they'd need to do on shorter notice, which makes sense. And I hope that is the case. But if it's not, then you kind of have some serious issues. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, whoever it is, whatever the situation is. I'd like to hope that it's going to work out. So it's only a matter of time. We'll see.
Yeah, we will know shortly. So I don't want to spread any misinformation. I don't want to start ringing alarm bells that people aren't going to be able to compete, because I don't know that for sure. I just know the information that's out there, and that's that some players have not been reached out to about starting the visa process, and it normally takes 1 to 2 months. However, they maybe already have something in place. Maybe they don't need visas because of maybe that's one of the reasons they're going to Denmark. I'm not sure, but that's where we're at right now. But did you have anything that you wanted to add about some of the RLCS travel issues, any of the grass boost debates, or anything about the ban hammer that was thrown in SSA?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, we'll jump into overtime then before wrapping it up for today. We only got one question, and that is from @uncle_Che on Twitter, who said, "What's your second favorite color, and what's holding it back from overtaking your number one spot?" So first from AJ, if we're counting black, purple is the second favorite, and because black is just objectively better. If we don't count black, teal is my second favorite, and because Rocket League is better than the Game Boy Color, V1 for purple, obviously, and my Game Boy Color was teal way back in the day.
Interesting response. Okay, that is that's a lot more thought than I would have put into it, because just seeing this question, I'm going to need some time to think on it. But before we get there, I just want to back up for 1 second. I just actually looked it up. Apparently, you don't need a travel visa to go to Denmark.
Interesting. Okay. Well, then maybe that solves the issue entirely. I mean, I know, like, certainly you don't necessarily need a visa to travel, like, in Europe, but, like, a lot of times you need, like, an entry permit.
Yeah.
So, maybe there's going to be more to be said about that. Maybe that's why they knew for Major 1 they had to go someplace that didn't require a visa. I'm not sure. So, hopefully that is the case, and that they have everything that they need and everybody can compete. But that's a good find.
Apparently, it's something about 90 days or less for tourist purposes. That could just be U.S. residents. No idea. But yeah, that is a little tidbit. As for my favorite color is blue. My second favorite color is gray. Does that even count?
I would count it.
Okay, I would say that counts. I'd say the lack of color, I guess. But gray is my second favorite color. What it holds it back is the fact that literally, like, all of my favorite things and things that I root for is blue. So I love the color gray. I'm the type of person that literally wears 3 colors: white, gray, or black. So I'm dressed like a panda at all times, basically. So I love, like, just kind of a colorless scheme when it comes to, like, clothing and just kind of things that I represent with. But as far as, like, sports teams, as far as just general things I've associated myself with in my life, blue is certainly, like, my favorite, and I honestly don't think anything will ever pass that.
Okay, that's interesting. And my favorite color growing up and currently is green. It's always been green. My room was green. Most of my, like, favorite toys were green, things like that. My second favorite has to be purple. I like the different shades of purple that you can get.
Yeah.
Most of my Rocket League cars, if I'm not rocking, like, a specific decal, are, like, some metallic purple colors. I just think it looks really nice. But, like, similar to you, I just have, like, so much nostalgia with the color. And I just have always enjoyed looking at it in general, that I don't think it can pass my number one.
Good question. I like the question a lot.
Chase stays undefeated with questions. That's a good one. He said, "What is the best flavor of pudding?" Not your favorite. What is the best? Like, just, like, in general.
Vanilla, 100%.
That's what AJ and I said too. The chocolate lovers are gonna hate us, but
I mean, I've always been a vanilla guy. I mean, chocolate is good, but no, nothing competes. That's
what I'm saying too. So
bonus question here in overtime. Double OT.
Another Che question too. So, but like Che, if we tweet out before we go live. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer on the show, please respond to us on Twitter or leave them in the Discord. We put threads in there for people to ask questions. So, if you want something that you want, or if you have something you want to ask, Rocket League related, not Rocket League related, pudding related, favorite color related, anything like that, just put them in there. But, with that, I think we're going to wrap up for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, join our Discord, rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. Those 5 stars really help us grow our show, really help us show that you guys are enjoying the content, and keep us motivated to continue bringing you as much as we can. Also, please check out our YouTube, our Twitch, our TikTok, and our merch store. Our merch is super awesome. I wear it almost every day. But with that, all of those links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. And from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball.
Thank you for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website, www.boostoverball.com, and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.